Agent Morris with the NSA.
There is something real here.
Did you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Biologics came to some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Those could represent exquisite new adversary technology.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
The government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are.
The Sol Foundation, which just announced a new initiative for UFO research and policy.
It's nuts, man. I mean, we're just small-town buds who saw a UFO in the woods. I mean, now we're hanging out with the government.
Wow. What floor were you guys on?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Smiles Lewis. This is the weekly news and media roundup for the nonprofit Anomaly Archives. Thank you for joining us. Let's dive right in. You can go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, or our patreon.com/anomalyarchives. You can follow along with the links at flipboard.com/@anomalyarchives. We have monthly online lecture events this coming month, September 2025. On Wednesday the 24th, we'll be featuring Tui Snyder. She'll be presenting on travel, tombstones, and transformation. This is about her new book, Around the World in 80 Grays. We hope you'll join us. That's for patrons at the Anomaly Academy Cadet tier or higher. You can go to patreon.com to find out more about that. We had a great time this past week with our good friend David and company at the new Area 512 Austin Disclosure Meetup Group meeting here in South Austin. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, David, and everybody who attended. Met some new friends and continued friendships with our newer friends. So much fun. Take a look at their meetup, and if you're in the Central Texas, Austin area, consider checking it out. Coming up later this month, coming September 20th, that's Anomaly-Con, a virtual conference on the Anomalous put on by Ryan Sprague with a plethora of awesome guests. You can find out more at anomaly.com. Of course, you can also check out our good friend Saul Ravencraft's Damned show that's happening coming up September 26th and October 17th. You can find out more about that at damnedshow.com. And like I say, you can go to our Flipboard and check out all the news links. So many news articles to read from, to choose from. And we're going to be covering just a small smattering of those today. So thank you for joining us. All right. Well, let's see. Let's start with this one over at Sentinel News. That's sentinel-news.org by Baptiste Freescore. Chairman Comer and Rep Mace launch investigation into Wikipedia information manipulation. Yes, while it can be a decent source of information on all things, anything controversial, which isn't everything somehow likely controversial. I don't know. But as we've reported, we were informed that our good friend Micah Hanks's website, thedebrief.org, was branded as being non-reasonable, non-rational paranormal slop. So they have stopped citing it on Wikipedia, which is a travesty. The subtitle for this article by Baptiste Friscourt: for years, investigators have claimed that Wikipedia content was altered to promote specific narratives. Now Congress seems to have had enough. Who controls UAP information? As previously reported by Sentinel News, the influence of moderators on fringe science topics on the most widely used content website has long been debated. Recently, the downgrading of the news website The Debrief, based on the opinion of a few moderators, rekindled outrage. It seems that the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee has decided to intervene. In an announcement on their website, they state that they are, quote, investigating organized efforts undertaken in violation of Wikipedia platform rules to influence U.S. public opinion on important and sensitive topics by manipulating Wikipedia articles. It's will be interesting to see what happens here. So we'll just see where this goes, and we'll move right along here. Now, let's see. This other article from John Greenwald's Black Vault, that's theblackvault.com. NASA cites FOIA exemption to withhold James Webb briefing content despite public hearing. This was published just today. And, this falls into that category of topic that we've been reporting on with regard to interpretations of 3I Atlas, this interstellar mystery object that Avi Loeb is saying probably is a comet, but it's sure doing some strange things and has some anomalous aspects. And shouldn't we use this as an opportunity to practice science and see if there's maybe something more to this object? Now, many people accuse Avi of just grandstanding, trying to get that spotlight for whatever reasons, or maybe deeper suggestions of conspiratorial parapolitical nature. But regardless, I don't think these are bad questions to ask, but inevitably it ends up causing not quite a panic, but certainly widespread misinformation, disinformation spreading about the nature of 3I Atlas, this mystery interstellar object. Greenwald's article at the Black Vault reads, in September 2024, a FOIA request was filed with NASA seeking records of congressional briefings on the James Webb Telescope, JWST. The request asked for both classified and unclassified materials created between 2021 and 2024, including any briefings on discoveries made by the telescope. The request filed by the Black Vault was prompted by a wave of speculation online that suggested NASA had secretly briefed lawmakers on groundbreaking discoveries made by JWST. In mid-September 2024, a YouTube video and subsequent social media post claimed the telescope had detected a mysterious object moving toward Earth, sparking rumors that Congress had been given a classified update. These claims gained further traction when journalist Matt Laszlo, through his Ask a Poll project, directly asked Representative Andre Carson whether he had attended classified JWST briefings. Carson, who had previously chaired a congressional hearing on unidentified aerial phenomena, declined to respond. His refusal to comment was interpreted by some as confirmation, further fueling speculation that confidential briefings had taken place. However, NASA's initial response was that no records existed. According to the October 9th, 2024 denial letter, searches of the Offices of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, OLIA, and the Science Mission Directorate turned up nothing responsive. There's his screenshot of that. An appeal challenged the adequacy of the search, citing NASA's public testimony before Congress about JWST in November 2022, which would have likely required preparatory and briefing materials, either of which should have been considered responsive to the original request. In December 2024, NASA's Office of the General Counsel sided with the appeal. The determination stated that responsive records had in fact been located and remanded the request for further processing. Well, good on you, Mr. Greenwald. On August 29th, 2025, NASA released a set of 24 pages of documents under the new case number, yada, yada, yada. The records included, if you want the number, you can go to the link. It'll be in the show notes for tonight's show. over at anomalyarchives.org/video/ yeah, you can find it. The records included briefing slides prepared for November 15th, 2022, prep sessions ahead of a House subcommittee. Yeah, I don't know that any of this actually gets to the issue that he's trying to uncover, but again, he's doing the heavy lifting. He's doing the work. And yeah, it looks like a big blanked out page is what he got. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it really answers the question. Of course, is there a there? But you can go to theblackvault.com and look into this yourself. Now, regarding the kinds of misinformation, disinformation spread that I'm alluding to, I want to play a few minutes of Linda Moulton Howe's August 27th live stream, or maybe it was pre-recorded and played, I don't know, but I just happened to tune in and see this and was like, are you kidding me? And a cursory search kind of answered, I thought, her question. But let's see if we can get this to play here. Right. This is from her August 27th, 2025. Is 3i Atlas a secret government crisis? Where she she plays some interview footage with physicist John Brandenburg, who of course is the controversial lecturer who speaks on the idea that there was some kind of nuclear disaster on Mars, and that you can see this writ large in the visible evidence of Mars. Let's see if we can get this to play here.
And on Sunday morning, August 24th, 2025, I did a YouTube search for, quote, 3i Atlas connection, anomalous acceleration. And that was because of the discussion with Dr. Brandenburg. And up came Elon Musk wearing what looked like an elegant silk shirt, an elegant silk tie, and an elegant suit jacket. His face and voice were somber, and his words implied that something is about to happen this fall of 2025 that could seriously impact humans on Earth, and was linked to this Elon Musk YouTube post on Saturday, August 23rd, 2025. Quote, 3i Atlas just turned back and confirms what we all feared, close quote. And I ask, but who feared what? And what does turning back mean? Turning back away to wherever the interstellar object had come from, or turning back toward Earth? I watched the serious Elon Musk video of him talking to the camera as if live for several minutes. He was so serious about events that could affect all humans. After Elon Musk talked for several minutes, it suddenly just stopped, and the entire website seemed to disappear from my screen. I did more Elon Musk searches, but could not find any current link to what I had just been watching and was so serious and sober. I wonder if any of you here tonight at the Earth Files YouTube channel saw that well-dressed, serious-voiced Elon Musk broadcast on Sunday morning, August 24th, 2025. If you did see it, please message or email me directly. My email is earthfiles@earthfiles.com.
Okay, so she shows another video that she was able to find. Okay, so the video was titled Elon Musk just says 3i Atlas just turned back and confirms that what we all feared. Well, if you just take the phrase, So I searched for that, and it brings up all kinds of stuff. And it immediately becomes obvious, first of all, that videos with that exact same phrase from the worst, shadiest AI slop farms online go back weeks before this. And so if you do a Google AI overview search for the phrase "just turned back and confirms what we all feared," that alone brings up this text. Let me see. So of course, the Google overview has changed a couple of times. The current one that I just did right before the recording this, the phrase "just turned back and confirms what we all feared" is clickbait for a YouTube video and Facebook post from May 2025 that falsely claims that Voyager 2 space probe returned to confirm a major conspiracy. The video, which is presented for, quote, entertainment purposes, has no basis in fact, and it is a deceptive tactic to generate engagement and spread misinformation. What the post is really about: Voyager 2 did not turn back. The video's premise is a fictional narrative created to attract viewers. Voyager 2 has been traveling away from Earth for nearly 50 years and is now more than 12 billion miles away. The post likely reference a temporary communication loss that occurred with Voyager 2 in 2023. At the time, NASA has continued to receive data. The posts take a non-event and escalate into an ominous and false story. It uses a classic misinformation technique. It is not about a specific conspiracy. That's more or less what it told me a few days after I saw this video, which was, is clickbait and not a factual news headline. It is most prominently featured in YouTube videos from June and July 2025, which use dramatic, misleading titles to attract views. The videos are referencing the Voyager space probes and a known technical issue, which was resolved, not a dramatic extraterrestrial event. Here's what is known about the Voyager story. In June and July 2025, several YouTube channels published videos with identical or very similar sensational titles about the Voyager probe. The premise of these videos is that Voyager's instruments turned back and collected data that confirmed, quote, a long whispered theory, unquote, about humanity being a, quote, cosmic exhibit, unquote, for an alien civilization. The actual source of the story is a real-world technical glitch that occurred with the Voyager 1 probe in 2023. The issue which caused the probe to send back garbled data was resolved by NASA engineers in April 2024. The narrative about aliens and turning back is a dramatic fiction based on a real and now resolved technical problem. There has been no credible scientific confirmation of aliens or of the Voyager probes turning back. Now, if you do a search for that phrase, "just turned back and confirms what we all feared," you get like a metric crap ton of fake disinfo, misinfo, AI slop. Like you can see here, Voyager 1 just turned back and confirms what we all feared from 4 hours ago. That's it's still churning the stuff out. Voyager 2 just turned back and confirms what we all feared from 3 weeks ago. Elon Musk, quote, 3-Eye Atlas just turned back and confirms what we all feared from 11 days ago. Same title from 4 hours ago. This stuff is just being churned out constantly. YouTube, you're doing a crap job of mitigating this nonsense. 2 months ago, Voyager 1 just turned back and confirms what we all feared. Another one from streaming right now, or when I did the search a few minutes ago, Elon Musk, 3-Eye Atlas just turned back with whopping 2 people watching, kind of like our watch statistics. Anyway, it's just insane. I can't believe we live in this era where this terrible proliferation of just total utter junk. I guess it's always been like this. I'm sorry. I'll get off my lawn. All right. Moving right along to other news. Enigma Labs. I'm not sure when this came out. I hate it when they don't have a date on posts. This is from the EnigmaLabs.io website. Of course, we have talked quite a bit about Enigma Labs, and in fact, one of the other things I was going to point folks to is this YouTube video over at Red Panda Koala's backup channel. People were approached by Peter Thiel with a financial contract to cover UFOs in the media. I don't know what the evidence of this is, but again, this is that same I think Courtney Person that we featured in previous episodes, making this claim that's been going around for quite some time, that Peter Thiel has a deep interest in UFOs and has been manipulating the UFO community through funding some of its podcasters. Anyway, Enigma Labs over at their website has this collection on metallic orbs, a comprehensive look at hundreds of metallic orb sightings reported across the U.S. Of course, they want you to download the app and view the study that way. Don't do it. That's my personal suggestion. Don't do it. It starts by saying, while classic disc-shaped UFOs dominated the mid-20th century sightings, orb-shaped UAP have emerged as one of the most frequently reported modern phenomena on Enigma. Often spotted at high altitudes near sensitive infrastructure, these orbs are described as hovering silently or darting across the sky at seemingly impossible speeds. Reports come from civilians, pilots, and military personnel alike. Consistently seen across the globe, the orbs typically lack visible propulsion systems or control surfaces. So you can read the rest of this. Of course, they give the historical context, citing Foo Fighters, the balls of light that would be seen off the edges of wing aircraft in World War II, not just American planes or Allied planes, but those of the Axis powers, the Nazis and the Japanese. Of course, they also cite this infamous drone footage of a metallic orb over the Middle East circa July 2022. And several others, including the Mosul orb and near miss with two metallic orbs with a private plane at 9,000 feet that had former NASA astronaut Dr. Leroy Chow with this close encounter with these two metallic orbs. And they have a breakdown of their statistics of the different reports. Roughly 70% of all reports met our quality standards for publication. While California and Texas accounted for the highest volume, sightings have been documented nationwide, often near military bases, critical infrastructure, and naval vessels. And they give some other breakdowns. Enigma ran a statistical analysis across the community's accounts. Object characteristics and behavior, 43% mention appearance of lights. 40% said the objects flew very low. 35% report the object flew rapidly, fast, or quick. 11% described as silent or having no noise. 38% described the orb as hovering. Anyway, you can check that out over at enigmalabs.io. And there is this article about it over at the-express.com, not the most reputable of news sites, but hey, Peter Rubenstein has the article titled Pentagon Detects 8,000 Mysterious UFO Orbs Over U.S. Military Bases in Unnerving Mystery. A report from a crowdsourced UFO spotting website reveals hundreds of reports of strange metallic orbs in the night sky above the United States. This came out Thursday, August 28th. A new report from a crowdsourced UFO sighting app found that among the hundreds of reports of unidentified metallic orbs between 2022 and 2025, the majority were spotted in the dead of night near military installations in California, New York, and Arizona. Enigma, which allows users to report their own UFO sightings, logged more than 8,000 reports in the U.S. between December 2022 and June 2025, according to the report. Of these, 422 described the presence of a metallic orb, the majority of which were observed between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. within 5 miles of military bases. Now, again, Enigma Labs has got a very controversial pedigree. There is at least one news report that has seemingly from a reputable journalist news outlet that claimed that Enigma Labs was involved with working with Arrow, the government office, all domain anomaly resolution office, to resolve this. Is that working again? No, it's not. Okay. Well, anyway. And so there's this rumor also that Peter Thiel and or associated people of his were instrumental in the founding of Enigma Labs through lots of his money. I'll let you do the digging to decide whether that seems true or accurate. Just quickly moving along over at popularmechanics.com. Navy officer says underwater UFOs are legitimate threats. The evidence is hard to ignore. Some of the most incredible encounters with non-human aircraft have happened over the world's oceans. Now the witnesses want answers. This by Stav Dimitriopoulos. I think that's how you pronounce that name. What a great image of a cool flying saucer going into a big water sinkhole in the ocean. The article begins over at popularmechanics.com. In mid-2014, during training flights off the coast of Virginia Beach, Virginia, FA-18 pilot and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves began to notice something strange. The radar returns looked off. Phantom blips moving with unfathomable speed and precision. At first, he dismissed it as a glitch, but then the anomalies returned, recorded by the fighter jet's sophisticated sensors. They would hover in place and then dart away at supersonic speeds. They were recorded from the ocean's surface to 40,000 feet. Quote, sometimes stationary 0.0 Mach, other times 250 to 350 knots, sometimes even supersonic 1.1 to 1.2 Mach, all altitudes and always over the ocean, Graves says. After appearing only as glitches on the jet's radar, the objects on one occasion finally came into view, with Graves reporting seeing a dark gray or black cube inside a clear sphere between 5 and 15 feet in diameter coming within 50 feet of their jets. That was the turning point, Graves says. We started treating it as a safety issue. Yeah. USOs are a topic that has always fascinated me. Again, with the Earth being, the majority of the Earth being covered by water, is it any surprise that one could say that the majority of UFO sightings happen near or over bodies of water? And as a, disreputable UFO researcher once told me, the Navy has forgotten more information about UFOs than the Air Force ever knew. Put another way, the Navy knows a lot more about UFOs than any other branch of the military, allegedly. Well, again, why might that be? Well, as the branch of the military that's closely aligned with serving in watery areas, that would seem to just up the ante, up the percentage of likelihood. Anyway, this article goes on to, of course, quote Rear Admiral Tim Galladay, who, of course, has been speaking out about this issue of USOs, unidentified submarine objects, or I think there's a variety of other acronyms that have been used as well. And, of course, all these same old military cases are mentioned again and again. The Nimitz case, the Aguadilla case, as usual, I'm intrigued, but it just also I get very frustrated when it all comes down to these military witnesses, military sightings. Yeah, so on to the next thing. Meanwhile, at ovnilogia.com.br, I believe this is a Spanish language or bilingual Spanish website, OVNI being the Spanish word for UFO, I believe. For the first time in history, a peer-reviewed scientific article on a UFO case is accepted in Progress in Aerospace Sciences. The study was published in the world's most widely read aerospace engineering journal. The article re-examines a forgotten case from 1966 and was co-authored by Dr. Jacques Vallée, Luc Dini, and Geoffrey Mechersky. This was published on August 24th, like I say, over at ovnilogia.com.br. For the first time in the history of ufology, a UFO case has undergone the rigorous peer review process and has been accepted by the prestigious journal Progress in Aerospace Sciences. The news was recently shared with the public by renowned scientist and ufologist Dr. Jacques Vallée during his appearance on The Good Trouble Show. It was also revealed, I believe, in other interviews and outlets like, I think, when he was being interviewed by Peter Scafish of the Soul Foundation, their YouTube channel, I think. Maybe I'm misremembering. Although the article was published in June of this year, the news has received little attention in both the academic and ufological communities, despite its great significance. The study brings back to light an episode that had remained buried for nearly 50 years, an observation recorded in 1966 and originally analyzed in the controversial Condon Report, a document that for decades was used as a basis to debunk UFOs. Now, revisited by Vallée in collaboration with Luc Denny and Geoffrey Metchersky, the case takes on new relevance and challenges long-standing interpretations, opening the door for serious scientific investigation of unidentified aerial phenomena in high-impact journals. And it goes on to describe more about that particular case, which is interesting, and you might want to go read about it over here at oldnilogia.com.br. And let's see, next up. Oh, yep, you can actually go and read the PDF, download and read the PDF of this article in Progress in Aerospace Sciences. The paper is titled Estimates of Radiative Energy Values in Ground Level Observations of Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, New Physical Data, and appears to be about 14 pages long. There are some maps and, figures and formulas. Oh, goody. I am interested to learn more about how they're, I think, using tree bark samples to possibly analyze the radioactive signature of the alleged object, whatever was encountered in this case. But yeah, looks to be a win for the UFO community and for good old Jacques Vallée. Also, I've since learned, I was under the impression that his most recent 6th volume of his Forbidden Science journals was going to be the final volume, even though, of course, it ends a decade or two before now, and each volume has been a different decade from his journals. But apparently, I think it was revealed in the new Sol Foundation interview with Skafish and Vallée that there is another one in the works, and God bless him. There's so much data in those books, and I highly recommend anybody with a deep interest in the subject go and read them. Moving right along, Tim Banal over at Coast to Coast AM reports 60th anniversary of legendary Exeter UFO incident celebrated with new police patch. Apparently, this has been something they have done on a regular basis. You can see this patch there, which does feature I think it's a flying saucer with a light coming out of the bottom. Classic, imagery, iconography, with an obvious gray, green alien, almond-shaped head alien inside the clear dome, and something brown next to it that I can't tell if that is. Let's see. Oh, here's a close-up of that. I think it's a dog. Maybe it's supposed to be a Bigfoot. I think it's supposed to be a dog next to the alien. That makes more sense of being a police patch. But yeah, I wasn't really aware that this was a thing with with the Exeter, New Hampshire Police Department, which Tim says has created a special patch celebrating the 60th anniversary of the UFO incident that put the town on the proverbial paranormal map. The legendary 1965 case began when then teenage resident Norman Muscarello spotted a flying saucer while walking home through the neighboring community of Kensington. The strange sighting was seemingly confirmed when a pair of Exeter police officers also observed the unusual UFO when they visited the location shortly after the rattled witness arrived at their nearby station to report what he had just seen. The remarkable case subsequently became indelibly linked to the community through John G. Fuller's New York Times bestselling book, Incident at Exeter. That should be italicized, says the editor in me. As has been the case since 2009, the town will celebrate the event this coming weekend with its wildly popular Exeter UFO Festival, which draws hundreds of flying saucer fans from throughout New England and beyond. Joining in on the fun by recognizing their quote-unquote direct ties to the incident, the town's police department began selling collectible patches in 2022 with a new out-of-this-world design revealed each year. Oh, how cute. Gotta collect them all. All right. Thank you, Tim, for reporting on that important news. So we are going to be interviewing our good friend, Professor Greg Agigian, about his book, After the Flying Saucers Came, as well as his ongoing work in the field of UFO studies as a historian. And I just came across this insights.uca.org.au article called Aliens, Anxiety, and Us. It's basically a book review of said book. I gather that this is a church website, but very interesting, decent, good review of the book, and just how much amazing work went into it and how much ground Gigian covers. It really was a revelation to me. As much as I knew, I thought the wide scope of the history of the UFO community at large around the globe, I was blown away at the level of detail that Greg Gigian accomplished in this study. And I can't recommend that book highly enough. And this review is, check it out. Aliens, Anxiety, and Us over at Insights Magazine. That's insights.uca.org.au. It's supposed to be about a 4-minute read. And I think you might be inclined to pick up a copy yourself. Meanwhile, I'm thankful to yet again Anomalous.com bringing my attention to this website. I'm not sure whose blog this is. It's called Patterns, Strange News, mostly. This is actually from a couple of years ago, August 21st, 2023, but it was news to me. And the post is called Life by Chemical Action from the New York. It's basically highlighting something from the past that previously had been thought of as a fairly recent development, and that is the use of the phrase or the word ultra-terrestrial, which of course was popularized in the UFO field by journalist John Keel, though it's only recently, as with the proliferation of that word popularized by Mac Tonnies, crypto-terrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, crypto-terrestrial. These were words uttered by ultra-terrestrial uttered by John Keel in his books. Crypto-terrestrial written about by Mac Tonnies more recently, before he passed away several years ago. But yes, over at this blog titled Life by Chemical Action, they record this instance from the New York Times circa Thursday, June 22nd, 1905. Quote, life may be not only ultra-terrestrial, but even immaterial, something outside our present categories or matter and energy. And this is from a more lengthy article dealing with this idea of strange phenomena, and gets to something else we were going to cover a little later in the broadcast here. But yes, I guess the article was titled Life by Chemical Action, circa 1905. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it begins the story of the experiments of Professor Burke of Cambridge University in producing and sterilized bouillon by the action of radium, what he modestly describes as the, quote, appearance of life, unquote, in what seem to be unicellular organisms with the capacity for subdivision and multiplication is full of interest, but it would easily be possible to reach mistaken conclusions concerning it by hasty generalizations. So it goes on to say, let's see, where does this begin? If it were shown that what has hitherto been regarded as the creative miracle of the vitalization of matter is possible of performance as the result of such conjunction of materialia and forces as may be brought together in the laboratory, its significance would probably be found to depend a great deal upon one's concept of the nature of life. Those for whom speculations of this kind are of interest will be instructed and probably fascinated by the discussion of what is life, contributed by Sir Oliver Lodge of Birmingham to the current issue of the North American Review. The question is not answered, for the excellent reason that it does not admit of answer with our present knowledge of natural phenomena. But from what we do know, or at least accept as true from the best evidence obtainable, the conclusion is inevitable that the life with which the Earth now teems came either from the joint action of chemical and physical forces or from some ultra-terrestrial source or sources. Anyway, you can read the whole scan of that old 1905 article over there at, well, it's a weird URL, Zoomar1, that's ZOOMAR numeral 1.wordpress.com. But the blog is called Patterns, Strange News Mostly. All right, and just some other thing that you might want to check out. Red Panda Koala's backup YouTube channel now has this old archival footage. Center for UFO Studies, 1970s Hynek. This is great. This is some old video footage that somebody digitized and Red Panda Koala got a hold of and put online. All this early footage of the old Kufos offices with all the young old guard there, George Eberhardt, Mark Rodiger, and others. They're showing off their collection of UFO material. Anyway, it's what is it? It's about 4.5 minutes long, and you might want to go check that out.
We're all here tonight.
Organizing all the files and the books. Sooner or later, I really feel that this will be a very accepted in our society study. They'll become scientists of ufology.
I'm Dave Boris. I'm the minion of Center for UFO Studies. I'm here to defend the galaxy from intergalactic alien invasion.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Thank you for hanging with us. Stay right there. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. This is Smiles Lewis with the Anomaly-NOW, weekly news and media roundup for the 501c3 nonprofit Anomaly Archive Scientific Anomaly Institute based here in Austin, Texas. Diving right back in, there's, I was just talking about on the other side of the break, the, what was I talking about? Something that reminded me of this article over at the debrief.org. Micah Hanks reports on, quote, scientists fear mirror life synthetically produced in the lab could create a dangerous new form of biology. This really caught my attention because of this idea of mirror life and what it gets into, chirality and the handedness of molecules. What is this all about? Micah writes, scientists are warning that creating quote-unquote mirror life, a radical new concept in synthetic biology, could potentially have dangerous repercussions if such organisms escape the lab, where they may cause irreversible damage to humans and the world around us. The concerns were detailed in a recent report that warned that mirror cells, artificially constructed living systems assembled from reversed molecular building blocks, might pose, quote, unprecedented and irreversible harm, unquote, if they were ever created. The concept, initially born out of an ambitious laboratory challenge, now has scientists and ethicists warning that the pursuit of such creations could represent one of the most dangerous frontiers in biology, which experts say should prompt global restrictions before further experiments are conducted. Now, what is mirror life? When it comes to life on Earth, all organisms share a fundamental and rather peculiar property, what scientists call chirality, or handedness. DNA and proteins are assembled from molecules that fit together in a consistent orientation, much like right and left-handed gloves. With this in mind, a mirror cell would essentially flip these orientations, with its DNA and proteins becoming versions of our own, albeit reversed, as though being viewed in a mirror. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of this article, but it just reminded me of years ago when I was speaking to a rather skeptical scientific friend of mine who has since passed away. I was talking to him about this idea of cryptoterrestrials and ultraterrestrials and also just other forms of life that we might not be able to perceive. And this is when he brought this very subject up to me and said, well, this is kind of, he said, vaguely related to what you're talking about, but it could be that there are different-handed based life forms, different life forms with a different handedness, a different chirality than ours, and that this may actually make it difficult, nay, impossible for us to perceive them. And I always thought that was very interesting, and so I started trying to look for more information about this. There's really not a lot out there about it, but Anyway, this is interesting now. So this is talking about creating this sort of life, this mirror life, synthetically in the lab, as opposed to it being discovered naturally. And so, yes, it could, as I'm implying, have some relevance perhaps to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, even though this article is not about that. But again, that's over at the Debrief. Scientists fear mirror life synthetically produced in the lab could create a dangerous new form of biology, by Micah Hanks. Moving right along, I actually was putting that into my category of cryptozoology oriented news, but it's not really that, obviously. But yeah, let's see if we can get this to play. Over at Coast to Coast AM, Tim Banal yet again reporting video: Lake Champlain monster celebrated with new exhibit at Vermont Museum. I want to see more about that.
And science of Vermont's most iconic legend. Who else? Champ, America's lake monster. Echo says its team has been working on the 3-story project for more than a year. The exhibit allows visitors to investigate hundreds of years of reported sightings and delve into the science and history of incredible creatures, both real and unproven.
There's lots of hands-on activities for the family and even a life-sized sculpture of the mythical creature.
That's really cool. Look at that.
Big.
Yeah, looks very cool.
It's going to be a popular spot for taking selfies, I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, popular place for taking selfies. Well, anyway, that looks like fun. 3-story exhibit. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Over at the Isle of Weird.com, Thrown by Voices. Is this paranormal or not? This is by Shane under the topic of hoaxes and poltergeists. We've got this image of a ghostly hand and smoky effluent. What do you call it? Ectoplasm between an old style rotary phone and the hand. This is a very interesting case that I was unfamiliar with. Early in 1981, Dr. Kurt Backseats, is that his real name? Backseats, started receiving abusive phone calls at his dental practice in the Bavarian town of Neutraubling in what was then West Germany. The caller, who went by the name Chopper, would shout insults and obscenities in a staccato robot-like monotone. But Chopper didn't just phone the surgery. He was somehow able to interrupt calls with patients and subject them to his abuse. Dr. Backseats put up with the calls for some months, possibly in the belief that the man calling himself Chopper would get bored, but he didn't get bored, and the calls kept coming. During one particularly chilling call, Chopper told Dr. Backseats that Ms. Backseats was about to have a violent death. In desperation, Dr. Backseats called the police, who immediately launched an investigation. As part of that investigation, the Deutsche Bundepost, who were responsible for the telephone system, dispatched a couple of their engineers to Neutraubling. Armed with the latest technology, the technicians were confident that they would be able to trace the calls and solve the mystery. But they failed miserably, even though Chopper gave them ample chances to catch him. By continuing to call the dental practice while the technicians were monitoring the phones, they couldn't get a trace on him. They had no ideas where the calls were coming from. They're coming from inside the house. In an act of frustration, an engineer physically disconnected one of the phones. It immediately began to ring. Nervously, he answered. It was Chopper. Following that incident, the Bundepost completely disconnected the phone lines at the dentist surgery, and that's when things got really weird. Here we have a photograph of Claudio Jundemann and Dr. Kurt Backseats. Chopper's voice began to emanate from the electrical sockets and the light fittings, the spittoon, the wash basin plug hole, the dentist chair, and even the toilet. Freed from the shackles of the telephone, Chopper, whoever or whatever he was, appeared to have been invigorated, and he would keep up a relentless tirade of abuse while Dr. Backseats tried to treat his patients. Neither dentist nor patient was spared. When one female patient leaned over the spittoon to spit out her mouthwash, Chopper shouted, "Shut your mouth!" A few days later, a male patient was told, "Open your mouth wider, stupid." And when one man made the grave mistake of sitting on the toilet, Chopper shouted from the bowl, "Move your backside, I can't see a thing." Only one person was spared, Chopper's snark, and that was Claudia Jundemann, the dentist's 17-year-old assistant, pictured previously. Chopper loved Claudia. When he wasn't verbally abusing Dr. Boxseats and his patients, Chopper was flirting with Claudia. "I love you, Claudia," he was heard to say on a number of occasions. For her part, Claudia was the only person who wasn't afraid of Chopper. She described him as being, quote, "a bit of a giggle," and would happily chat with him and answer his questions as she went about her day. But their relationship appeared to be more than just workplace coquetry. Coquetry? For starters, Chopper was only active when Claudia was at the surgery, and he always seemed to know what she had been doing when she wasn't at the surgery. "Did you enjoy the disco?" he asked her one morning as she arrived at work. Claudia had indeed been at a disco the previous evening. Was Claudia being stalked by a disembodied voice, or was something else at play? Yeah, so you got to check out the rest of this, but it has all the same hallmarks of the Jeff the Talking Mongoose case. In so much as it seems almost like a poltergeist haunting connected to a young, in this case, I guess she's not quite as young as typically the going through puberty, early phases of puberty idea of young girls or young teenagers being the source of these weird manifestations. But the obvious skeptical perspective would be she's just a ventriloquist and she's doing this all herself. And that's where this does go. But you'll have to go read it to find out what was discovered, if anything. All right, moving right along. Again, in the paranormal or not category over at abc4.com. Let's see if this will play. I don't know if we've got... Well, you know what? I'm not going to play this, but the title of the article is "Investigators Seek Information About Cattle Mutilation in Carbon County." It's from August 25th by Abigail Jones. Warning, the video and photos in this post may contain graphic imagery. They actually obscured everything in the video, so I guess they're just doubling down on trigger warnings. Nothing here necessarily paranormal other than the authorities are saying, no, this does not fit normal predation type evidence of the death of these livestock. The article says, livestock investigators are seeking information after a livestock owner found a bull dead and its reproductive organs mutilated. According to Director of Animal Industry at Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, UDAF, Leanne Hunting, on or around July 30, the livestock owner found a dead bull in a field. It was on Bureau of Land Management land within his allotment, and he thought something was off about the incident, so he contacted East Carbon law enforcement. East Carbon law enforcement contacted the Carbon County Sheriff's Department, who has been conducting the investigation. Hunting said that any livestock crimes are investigated by law enforcement agencies, and the UDAF's livestock division is available to assist in those cases. Yeah, so there are pictures, but again, they're mostly blurred out, but still it may be disturbing for some people. Quote, one piece of the reproductive organ has not been recovered. Another piece was found just a ways away from the animal, but there were no tracks around the animal or tracks leading up to the animal, Hunting described. The Livestock Brand Inspection Division of the UDAF and Carbon County Sheriff Department are asking anyone with information about this case or any other livestock criminal cases to contact them with that information. They are offering a reward for any information that leads to a conviction or arrest. Livestock crime takes place statewide, not just in rural areas. Yeah. Oh, this is a quote. Whether livestock has been stolen, we had some incidents where livestock has been shot a few years back, particularly when cattle prices are high. We see more cases related to theft. But as far as mutilation is concerned, very rarely do we have a case that we can rule out other factors and say that it is a mutilation, Hunting explained. Those other factors are other animals feeding on a carcass, where they will usually eat the softest tissue first, which can be the reproductive organs. Hunting said that investigators also determined whether the animal died of natural causes or was intentionally killed before other animals fed on the carcass. In this case, those other factors are not present, and so it is a mutilation case, which Hunting said is extremely rare. Well, for this next bit, on back in the subject of frontier archaeology, or just regular archaeology, over at Anomalous.com, this whole bit for September 2nd is very nice by their writer, WM. Oh, who is that? I forget again. I should know this by now because I cite these folks all the time. Yes, WM is William Murphy over at Anomalous.com. And he has this great collection of information on new archaeological discoveries, including these articles. New dating of enigmatic Petroluna skull reveals Neanderthals weren't alone in prehistoric Europe. That from the debrief. And WM writes, human prehistory is getting more complicated. Tim McMillan discusses how redating a strange skull found in northern Greece back in 1960 supports, quote, the existence of a primitive human lineage in Europe that coexisted with the emerging Neanderthals. Tim also covers the skull's previous dating and attempts to place it into a chronological relationship with other enigmatic finds. He's got thoughts on a recent African dental unearthing, as new fossil discoveries in Ethiopia reveal previously unknown branch in human evolution, finding a, quote, previously unidentified species of Australopithecus that lived alongside early humans nearly 2.6 million years ago, quote, unquote, may add to, quote, a complex web of evolutionary cousins, but also a more accurate understanding of the human past. Next, Ruth Schuster, with analysis of skulls, finds more Denisovians and unknown human species. Ruth's commentary to a new study both emphasizes the confusion from trying to relate skulls and their DNA recovered from sites as far apart as Spain, Zimbabwe, and China, while yet perhaps solving a quote-unquote ghost lineage in current Africans' genetic makeup. Ruth further relates a story about human Neanderthal hybrid child from 140,000 years ago found in Israel's Shul S-K-H-U-L cave. This discovery has Professor Israel Hershkovitz waxing enthusiastic about Neanderthals and humans, quote unquote, mixing several times. However, Benjamin Taub writes, Neanderthals had their own language, but was it like ours? A new study, not yet peer-reviewed, suggests Neanderthals may have ultimately died out and been absorbed because they couldn't achieve fluency in human spoken discourse. And yes, the links to those articles, this one over at thedebrief.org, new dating of enigmatic Petrolona skull reveals Neanderthals weren't alone in prehistoric Europe, again by Tim McMillan. And then this other one over at the debrief as well by Tim McMillan, new fossil discoveries in Ethiopia reveal previously unknown branch in human evolution. And then these other two articles from Haaretz.com, that's Haretz.com. Analysis of skulls finds more Denisovians and unknown human species. Denisovians were discovered in 2010, but we didn't know what they looked like. Now we do, and Israeli researchers believe they spotted 3 on museum shelves. And mirror, mirror on the wall, am I seeing cobweb? So there's some great images here and research into the Denisovians. You might want to go check that out at Haaretz. And then there's this other one at Haaretz as well. I think the same author, human Neanderthal hybrid child from 140,000 years ago found in Israel's Shul cave. A skull found 90 years ago in a cave in northern Israel is now identified as a mix of human and Neanderthal, supporting the theory of a once beautiful friendship, says Professor Israel Hershkovitz. Yep. And yeah, some great photographs and research here. Check that out over at Haaretz. And yes, all the links to that will be in our show notes. And thank you, WM over at Anomalous.com. Closing in here for the final few news stories, Neanderthals. Oh, yes, this is the last one in that bit. Over at IFLscience.com. Neanderthals had their own language, but was it like ours? And could our linguistic differences have led to their extinction? Yes, the last two articles, different completely subject, the areas of consciousness, the human mind, what have you. Over at studyfinds.org, can you be aware of nothing? The rare sleep experience scientists are trying to understand. Research led by Adriana Alcaraz Sanchez, University of Edinburgh. So in a nutshell, as the article says, researchers investigated reports of a rare phenomenon known as objectless sleep experiences, a state of awareness during sleep without dreams, images, or a sense of self. Across surveys and interviews, participants described experiences of, quote, just awareness, nothingness, or a void, echoing concepts from Eastern contemplative traditions such as Advaita Vedanta and Tibetan dream yoga. Using meditation, visualization, and lucid dreaming techniques, some participants learned to remain aware as they drifted into non-REM sleep, with EEG confirming episodes of conscious but dreamless awareness. These findings challenge Western scientific views that consciousness always involves awareness of something, suggesting it can also exist in a minimal, content-free form. Studying such states may refine our understanding of consciousness, altered states of mind, and conditions such as deep meditation, sensory deprivation, or even mind blanking. Yeah, well, I'm very curious to read more about this, and hope that this leads to some interesting discoveries. Under one paragraph, I'll read a little bit more. Objectless sleep experiences. The article states, my colleagues and I set out to explore what a content-free state during sleep feels like in a series of studies. We first surveyed, 573 people online about unusual forms of sleep experiences, including forms of sleep consciousness that might be simpler or more minimal. For example, an awareness following the dissolution of a dream, or a bare awareness of the fact that you are sound asleep. We then conducted in-depth interviews with 18 participants who reported they had experienced some form of objectless sleep experiences using a protocol inspired by the microphenomenological interview. This is a research tool designed to help people recall and describe subtle aspects of their experience in fine detail. In those studies, we found a spectrum of experiences we called objectless sleep experiences, conscious states that appear to lack an object of awareness. In all cases, participants who alluded to an objectless sleep experience reported having had an episode during sleep that lacked sensory content and that merely involved a feeling of knowing that they were aware. Fascinating. All right. Well, lastly, for today's episode of Anomaly Now, is this one again from thedebrief.org by Chrissy Newton. Ancient breathwork meets modern neuroscience, offering psychedelic therapy without substances, study finds. Now, this immediately conjures up the idea of Stanislav Grof's, didn't change the tab there to thedebrief.org. This reminds us of Stanislav Grof's holotropic breathwork. But this gets just to the basic idea that, there are many ways to change consciousness, to change your state of consciousness that don't necessarily require pharmaceuticals or drugs. I've said many times that it's like the whole idea of brainwave entrainment through flickering lights. Looking into a fire, the flickering lights of a fire can entrain your brain and cause your brainwave state to change. So can being exposed to an expanding, collapsing magnetic field. This can entrain your brainwaves to different specific states of consciousness. So can low frequency sounds or high frequency sounds. All these types of vibrations, light and particle, can induce altered states of consciousness. But it's even more simple than that. Obviously, things that you eat, psychedelic mushrooms can change that. But, obviously sugar can change your consciousness. But the most simplest thing of all is breathing. Your breath work can affect your state of consciousness. This is why people who have panic attacks are in an altered state of consciousness. They're usually hyperventilating, and that's kind of all holotropic breathwork really is. No offense to the trademarked holotropic breathwork of Stanislav Grof and the Grof Institute or Foundation. But anyway, from Chrissy Newton's article here, breathwork has been utilized throughout history, from its role in spiritual practices to its modern applications in health and wellness. In its various forms, controlled breathing can influence both mind and body, and when paired with music, studies have shown that breathwork can evoke blissful and at times even psychedelic-like states of mind. Now, a new peer-reviewed study highlights that high ventilation breathwork, HVB, may contribute to inducing altered states of consciousness, ASCs, as a drug-free approach with potential therapeutic benefit that may help provide relief for those dealing with emotional pain. Researchers from the Department of Clinical Neuroscience at Brighton and Sussex Medical School investigated how fast, deep breathing performed rhythmically to music can affect both subjective experiences and brain physiology. For centuries, cultures around the world have employed such breathing techniques. However, their benefits on a larger neurological scale have only recently begun to be understood. Yeah, well, it's about time. Come on, science, catch up. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for joining us here on Anomaly Now via the anomalyarchives.org. We appreciate your support and hope that you'll consider liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, subscribing to our blog via anomalyarchives.org, or becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/anomalyarchives. All of that would help us greatly, and we really would like you to consider doing that. So thanks again, and well, that's going to be it. Good night.